Welcome to the SuperAbundant Life podcast, where we teach the Bible in a simple, authentic, and practical way so that Christians can skillfully apply the Word of God to create supernatural results in every area of life. This is your host, Olawunmi Brigue. Today's topic is you versus you. Disqualifying yourself even before the race starts. Now, this habit is a deadly habit, and it's also pervasive. It is pervasive. No matter who you are subject, or you are susceptible to being tempted by this thing. Do you understand? Disqualifying yourself even before the race starts. Let me explain what I mean by that. So you see people succeeding and you want it. Or there's a desire in your heart. You desire this thing. You want to build a business that is successful. You want to progress in your career. You want your marriage to work. You want your children to do well. You want to save money. You want to buy houses. You want to invest in property. All these wonderful, lovely things. You want to lose weight and keep it off, right? But you look at yourself and you think, nah, I can't do that. You look at yourself and you think, nah, that's not for me. You admire people that are doing it, right? You're like, oh, well, that is just so amazing. You look at this person, look at what they have built. But you think, that's for a select group of people that are destined for that kind of glory. But no, not really me. It's not really me. All right. You look at someone that is the same as you, that went to the same university like you. Some of us, I grew up in Nigeria. I went to University of Lagos. You see someone that came out of University of Lagos, that you may have even have thought, oh, you were doing better than them all those years ago. You thought you were, like something. I was like, oh, this one maybe can't even speak English properly. The person they have phone like you. And now you're looking at the person, they're like, the CEO of some company somewhere, or they're running a business where they're making, 7 figures in pounds or dollars. You're looking at yourself and you're thinking, wow, there's a select group and not me. You see women just like you rising in their careers, in their businesses, raising amazing children, making an impact. And your conclusion is they're more equipped, or they're more powerful, or they're more knowledgeable, or they have more money, or they have more relationships that have helped them. This is a deadly way of thinking. And that way of thinking over time becomes a habit. So a deadly way of thinking becomes a deadly habit. Disqualifying yourself even before the race starts. Why do people disqualify themselves? How do we get into this kind of habit where you haven't even given yourself the chance to fail, right? As soon as the idea pops into your mind, you're like, no, that's not for me. You see, you drive by a neighborhood and you're like, wow, see these houses, they're so beautiful. And the thought comes and says, you will live in this kind of house one day. And suddenly you're like, yeah, right, whatever. The closest I'll ever get to this house is if I come and deliver something here, So you understand, you immediately dismiss it. You don't even give yourself an opportunity to even allow that thing to come inside. It is like the seed that was cast on the side. So God puts a seed. He sends out a seed in the form of a desire. And you don't even receive the seed into the soil. So the thing just stays on the surface, and guess what? Satan comes immediately and he carries the thing and chops it. Yes? So that is what I'm talking about, disqualifying yourself even before the race starts. You haven't even given yourself the opportunity to even receive it, to even think about it, to even look at the possibility. You can't see yourself as that person. The image is completely not there at all. And how do we get there? Why do people disqualify themselves? Why do we disqualify ourselves? So there are three main reasons why that happens. All right. All three reasons are as a result of a distortion in self-image. Nobody is born like that. If you ask a child, a 2-year-old, what do you want to be? I want to go to the moon. I want to be a doctor. I want to. I remember my son, when I asked him, when he was a lot younger, it was probably, how old was he? Maybe 5 or something, or 6. And said, what do you want to be? And obviously he looked at his parents, and he basically combined all of our professions. He said, I want to be a doctor, I want to be a pastor, I want to be a teacher, I want to be a business person, he tried to name like 5 different things. All of those things said he wanted to be. All right. And then he wants to design something, or design the fastest car, all those things. Kids, there's no limitation. There's no limitation. If you ask an adult, what do you want to be? Well, what I want to be is to be able to pay off my mortgage. I said, we're so limited. Why? How did we get there? How did we get there? We are trained into it. So everything is as a result of distortion in self-image. And there are 3 reasons why our self-image gets distorted. As I always say, not an exhaustive list. These are the things that I've observed through my own study, through my own life, through my experiences as a coach, of working with people as a coach. So the first one is first reason why we disqualify ourselves, why you would end up disqualifying yourself even before the race starts, before the gun goes off. You haven't even taken a step to start the thing, and you've already said, no, it's not for me, I can't do it, right? Is distortion in your self-image through past failures. A distortion in your self-image through past failures. Okay? So you generally think that you're not capable of doing it. Meanwhile, it is the failed expectations and the dashed hopes that have actually brought you to that point. You think, oh, it's because you can't do it. You think, oh, it's because you don't have the capacity to do it. But no, it's actually not because you don't have the capacity. It's because you have tried before, maybe over and over and over again. And because it didn't quite work out the way you thought it would work out, that series of experiences brought you to the point where you now believe that you're not able to do it. So the failed experiences, the dashed hopes, the unmet expectations have created a callousness, hardness of heart that will not even allow the seed to go in. The Bible talks about, like I said, the seed that is cast on the wayside. The wayside is hard ground. People have stepped on it, right? It has become hard. And in that time, they didn't have pavement, right? But even here, if you cast a seed on pavement, it's a bird, it's a pigeon that will come and carry it and eat it. But even in Jesus' time, they didn't have pavements. But because it's the sidewalk, it's quote unquote the pavement. It is soil. It started off as being soft, but people have trodden over it. It has become hard. Do you understand? Failed expectations, dashed hopes have created a callousness, a hard heart. So that when God gives you a word and says, this is who you're going to be, it bounces back. It's not soft. The heart has become hard. Hope deferred makes the heart sick. So you try the coaching thing. When everybody was doing coaching, you try that one, it didn't work. You say, okay, that coaching didn't work. Too many people are doing it. All right, let's try making and selling jewelry. So you said, let's try and make and sell jewelry. You try that one, it didn't work. Okay, you say, okay, I can bake, I know how to bake, let me make cakes and start selling cakes. So you tried baking, it got off the ground a little bit. After a while, nobody was buying again. It didn't work. Now you look longingly, there's still a desire in your heart to create a successful business, and you look longingly with desire, almost wistfully at successful business owners, and you think, oh, I wish I could be like her, right? But the actual problem was you didn't stick with one thing long enough to make it successful. Do you understand? All those failed projects were not an indication of what you were capable of. Do you understand? If you had actually stuck with one thing and put all your effort into it, and you didn't give up, you would have seen eventually what you were capable of, which is absolute success. Do you understand? So what am I going to say to that? Stop leaving a string of failures in your wake. Stop leaving a string of failures in your wake. Stop being a dabbler. A dabbler is not committed. They might be filled by an initial enthusiasm and passion, like, whoa, that sounds great, I love it. And they dabble in it, put their toe in a little bit, right? And they're like, oh, it's too hard, it's not working. Or something else catches their attention, which is, you don't want to miss this series. You don't want to miss it, because another one that I'm describing now, the dabbler, it's one of the habits that hold us back as well. So they dip their toe in, do it for a little while. It's either they get distracted by something else, they go and do something else, or they feel like it's taking a while, I'm not really seeing the results, it's too hard, or whatever their reason is, and they move on to something else. The problem with being a dabbler is you're going to leave behind a string of failures behind you that eventually bring you to the point where you have zero belief in your own potential. And that is where you arrive at the point where you don't even dabble anymore. You don't even dip your toe in the water anymore. You just automatically dismiss any idea of progress that comes to you. Stop leaving a string of failures in your wake. It's bad for your heart. The Bible says hope that is deferred, it makes the heart sick. So it's bad for you. It's bad for your self-image. It's bad for your heart. That's the first reason, right, why people end up disqualifying themselves before the race even starts. Number two, the second kind of distortion of self-image is through influential relationships. So relationships that actually have a say, that count, that matter in your life, and they have sown negative words. They have painted, they have distorted the image that God gave you when He created you and sent you to this earth. They have distorted it through their words, through their actions, through their attitudes towards you. So, for example, you failed one class in primary school, and your teacher, or maybe even your mom or your dad, called you a dunce. It's like, see this in Yoruba, I say olodo. Olodo, I mean, it means dunce. It means dunce. I mean, it means there's no brain inside your head. There's even a song said, is it a song or a chant? Olodo rakpata ojo eja lo moje. I think that's it. Yes. Basically saying this one is so stupid. This one is so stupid that the only thing you deserve to eat is, out of the whole fish is the eye. The fish, the eye is the eye of the fish that you know how to eat. I've never really thought about that. That is injurious. Is it that they give somebody a fish and they're so stupid that they don't know to eat the actual flesh, is the eye they went to eat? Or is it that when you eat, or is it that the only thing you deserve to eat is the eye? Whatever they meant by that, it is injurious. Words like that have distorted somebody's self-image to the point that they have been told so much. They have been told so much that they're stupid, or they're slow, or they're this, or they're that, by a relationship that have influence, that they cannot even see or believe in their own potential anymore. So when God brings a seed in the form of an idea or an image or a thought, they immediately straight away say no. And the person says, oh, they're an olodo, and therefore they can't do it. It's not me they're looking for there. It's not me they're looking for there. It's not me they're looking for there. Yes? So, a distortion in self-image as a result of evil. And I'm not going to say like negative words. These words are evil, right? Words are either good or evil. There's no middle ground. It says life and death are in the power of the tongue. There's no, okay, maybe it's not death, but it's like not so nice. No, the Bible says life, good, or death, evil. I said before this day, good and life, evil and death, pick one. Do you understand? So evil words spoken, evil words, evil actions, evil attitudes spoken, displayed by people that are influential in our lives, particularly as children, that have distorted our self-image. A perfect image that God put inside us when he created us. That's the second way that people end up disqualifying themselves even before the gun goes off, even before the race starts. The third way is a distortion in your self-image through you staying stagnant for too long, staying in one place, becoming too comfortable in a place for too long. I mean, nobody wants to be a cowboy where you're always putting out fires. Who does not like to enjoy life? Me, I like to enjoy life. I mean, when God begins to nudge me, like, okay, it's time to grow, it's time to expand the business, it's time to do it. I'm like, God, we just got here now. Let's we just achieved this one. Let me relax and enjoy my life small, Joe. Just who doesn't like to enjoy life? Who doesn't like to just stay in a job and be earning a salary and and just be there and not really push yourself like that? Everybody likes that. But the truth of the matter is God will not allow you, because he says you will grow from glory to glory, from faith to faith. He says that in Romans chapter 1. However, if you keep ignoring the nudges of the Holy Spirit to say it's time to move, it's time to move forward, it's time to grow, it's time to increase your capacity, it's time to multiply, it's time to expand, your image, your self-image becomes distorted. Why? Because you stopped growing. You got too comfortable doing the same thing over and over again, and you got to the point where you believed that was all there was to you. Do you understand? That was all that there was to you. So when an idea comes for someone that has done the same role for so long, they'll now come and say, actually, there's this new thing that is happening. Would you want to take it? Like, no, I was a teacher for 15 years, just under that, between 13 and 15. I mixed it up now. One of the biggest challenges that we had was dealing with teachers that had been teaching for like 15, 20, 25 years. Maybe they were close to retirement, that had been there for a long time. They were so set in their ways that when you're trying to introduce new things, like go digital, like use interactive whiteboards, or use new behavior things and behavior strategies and so on, they would resist you as if you are trying to put a knife to their throat. They would actively resist. And I used to wonder, hey, you haven't even tried this thing. You haven't even had a go. How do you know it's not going to work? They will moan, they will complain in the staff room. And that's why I rarely ever just sat down in the staff room, just to gist, because it was almost always negative. It was almost always negative. Like, see what leadership team are doing. Don't they understand that this, just complain and say, no, it'll never work. It's too much work, Meanwhile, the ones that grew the most were newly qualified teachers, straight, fresh from training. They were always bursting with ideas. They had the latest research into how children learn, into how, to really get through to them, how to interact with the child. They had all the latest research, findings, techniques, strategies, etc. And they were very keen to apply it. But the ones that had been there for a long time and had not really done anything to move forward or to grow, they had become so comfortable that they basically disqualified themselves even before the race started. A new initiative, they won't even have a goal. They'll say, no, it's not going to work. Why are you people always giving us more work? And then because they have to, they will now do it because they are being forced to. And then they'll now see that, okay, it actually worked. It's not that bad. Do you understand? But I used to think, but why? But why? So that was one of the biggest challenges, that I found of leading people. I became an expert at making somebody think it was their idea. I realized that all these teachers have been there for a long time, and because I got into leadership relatively early, quite young, I was quite young, and all these people that had been teaching for like 20 years, they say, who is this one that's coming to come and tell us how to teach or whatever, or how to manage a classroom? So I had to go and learn. I went to learn how to present ideas and make the person think they came up with the idea. I had to learn how to make people take ownership, because if somebody thinks you're just shoving something down their throat, they will resist you. How to present it in a way that they will think it is their idea, and as a result of that, they will run with it. So that's the third one. Just because you have been yielding to anger for so long does not mean you are an angry person who can never change. Just because you have stayed in that place for so long, what happens is it distorts your self-image, and that thing now defines your identity. Do you understand? It defines your identity. Just because you have been in that role at the same level for 7 years does not mean there isn't more to you. But unfortunately, if you stay somewhere, if you stay stagnant in a comfort zone, which actually after a while becomes uncomfortable because God is not going to leave you alone, He'll keep prodding you. What happens is it distorts you and you think, oh, I can never really be more than this. So there needs to be an external force. Someone from the outside, something, somewhere, sort of poking you in a way that you can't ignore, for you to shake loose from that and say, like prodigal son, wake up to yourself and say, no, I'm more than this. Just because you took a career break to look after your children does not mean you cannot get back in the game. Right? These are things. Just because you were out of the game for a while does not mean, it doesn't define you. It doesn't mean you can't get back in. Just because your marriage has been unhappy for as long as you can remember does not mean it doesn't have the potential to be heaven on earth. So those are the 3 reasons why we get to the point where we are always disqualifying ourselves even before the race starts. It's a distortion in the way that we see ourselves, and those are the 3 main reasons. Second part of this that I'm going to be talking about is, so how do you overcome this habit of disqualifying yourself even before the race starts? How do you do it? How do you overcome it? It's a habit. It's a habit. So you have to be deliberate in the way you do it. And to do that, I'm going to go into the Bible and I'm going to use the story of Esther. You must say, Esther, okay? I see strange things in the Bible, though. It is God has God has graced me with the spirit of wisdom that I just see strange things. You can give me any verse anywhere and I will bring something strange out of it, like something that how did you see that? And it was also by the words that I confess. I speak these words over myself. I have eyes that see, I have ears that hear, I have heart that understands what the Spirit is saying. I walk in synchronism with God in the times and the seasons, etc. But anyway, we're going to go into the book of Esther, and we're going to, from there, I'm going to show you how you can overcome the habit of disqualifying yourself even before the race starts. Even you don't even want to dabble, you've automatically said no. No is your favorite word. They're starting a new project at work and they're looking for volunteers. And before your boss, your line manager even says, well, Olawunmi, would you, like, no. And you have valid reasons that you can give him 5 valid reasons why you can't do it, that he should go and find somebody else. Okay, so I'm going to read from Esther chapter 4, and in verse 8 it says, Mordecai gave Hatak a copy of the decree issued in Susa that called for the execution of all the Jews. You know the story. I'm not going to talk too much about the story. So he asked Hatak to show it to Esther and explain the situation to her. He also asked Hatak to direct her to go to the king to beg for mercy and to plead for her people. So basically, think of this as God coming to you with an idea, all right, with a solution, all right. There's a problem He wants you to solve. So he comes to you and he gives you a business idea and says, have you noticed how, there's some moms in your organization that struggle with what's that thing called, postpartum depression? Is that what it's called? Am I completely butchering it? Where people go into depression when they've given birth. And maybe it's something that you went through, or someone that went through, and you were able to help them or something. And the idea comes like, why don't you start a group chat? Why don't you start something where you can speak to this kind of women, or write a blog before the idea even lands? It's like, no, Micah, I don't know how to write, I don't know how to speak. Is it mean they're looking for there, etc., etc.? Pavement, the thing just bounces, boom. Satan has carried it and chopped it. Okay, so Esther was there. Mordecai came with an idea, the same way God comes with an idea, and it's a valid idea. What did Esther say? Verse 10. Esther told Hathach, go back and relay this message to Mordecai. All the king's officials and even the people in the provinces know that anyone who appears before the king in his inner court without being invited is doomed to die unless the king holds out his golden scepter. And the king has not called me, has not called for me to come to him for the past 30 days. So Esther is like, no, sorry, I'm not going. Okay, it's a no. So go back and tell Mordecai, I don't do it. I don't do. I don't go do lie. So you want me to come and sacrifice my head for nothing? I'm not doing it. And guess what? Based on her circumstances, she actually had a point. That's why I said, before your boss lands with this new project he wants you to lead, you already have 5 reasons why it can't be you, that he should go and find somebody else. Why it cannot even be you. God comes and gives you an idea that will save your marriage. Before I even land, you're like, God, go and talk to him. He's your son. Do you understand? You don't even allow the thing. And your reasons are valid. You're like, see the way he has treated me. See what he has done. And your reasons are valid. Esther's reasons were valid. She said, if I go, and if he doesn't receive me with favor, off with the head. The head is gone. I'm dead. I will be the first of the Jews. Do you understand? To follow that path. And to even compound it, she said he hasn't called for me for 30 days. For her to make a note of that, it means that it was not normal for the king not to call for her in 30 days. It wasn't normal. So she was probably already fretting and thinking, hey, what did I do to the king? Have I, lost favor with the king? Is he angry? Am I going to be the next Vashti that gets banished? Waiting I do for this man. Just like she was already probably fretting. So she had valid reasons for not even putting her toe in the water, for instantly dismissing and disqualifying herself and saying, salvation or deliverance cannot come from my own end. You have to go and look for the solution yourself. Sorry, I can't take on this project. Sorry, I can't do this. No, sorry, I can't start that business. No, I can't do that webinar with you. No, I can't come and give a speech at your church. Why? Because you have automatically disqualified yourself. You have valid reasons. Based on her circumstances, Esther said, no, I'm not doing it. I'm not doing it. Okay. Now, I said how. So Esther was at the point where she had automatically disqualified herself, and she said, go and find your salvation somewhere else. It's not me. So step 1 in overcoming this habit of disqualifying yourself even before the race starts, step 1 is always question your nose. Not your nose as in the thing on your face, your no. Plural. Always question your nose. When you say no, when your mouth is about to form the, you can see your tongue forming the, hold it back first, swallow first, take 2 seconds and say, this no that I'm about to say, is it because I am automatically disqualifying myself? Do you understand? Question your no. I think it was Shonda Rhimes. the writer of Grey's Anatomy, I may have gotten her last name wrong, but she wrote a book, something about the year of yes, and she talked about she experienced a phenomenally successful year because she said yes to everything. She just kept saying yes. She just said, I watched an interview where she talked about, it started one day, and she was rushing out, obviously a big Hollywood executive, very busy, very successful, but very busy, but her life was miserable. She had been trying to lose weight for who knows how many years, and she was just miserable. I think her marriage was not working or something. Her kids, she felt like she didn't know her kids, and she was just miserable in spite of the success. So she had gotten to the point where, she was comfortable and she had defined herself by so many things. So her daughter came to her and said, "Mommy, let's play." And she was like, "No," which was usual, typical for her. And she said, "No, I have too much to do. I'm about to have a phone call, this interview. No, I can't." And then I think she had a light bulb moment, and she realized that, I think the disappointment on the child's face or something happened, and she just sat and said, what if I said yes instead of no? What if instead of automatically saying, "No, I'm too busy to play with you," or "No, I can't do that new show that you want me to do," or "No, I can't lose weight because I tried so many times, I failed." How about saying yes? And she said for a year, she committed that she would say yes to everything. She lost weight. She wrote brand new series after thinking that Grey's Anatomy was like the best she would ever do in her life. She went on to achieve phenomenal success. Why? Because she questioned her no's. She questioned her no. And where did I get that from? I got that from Esther. So the first thing is question your no. You're about to say no automatically. A new opportunity comes to you. You just want to say no, bam, just like that. Question it. Question it. And Esther said no. And how did she move back past that? So you can question the no by sitting down yourself and objectively analyzing it before you say no. In fact, do you understand? So your boss, like I said, comes to you, say, "Can you give me a day? Let me go and think about it. Let me analyze. Make sure it is truly supposed to be a no, as opposed to because of a distortion in your self-image that you don't think you have the capacity that you're able to do. It's not me they're looking for there." Question it. Sit down, think, objectively analyze, then give your answer. If it's a no, then not because you don't think you are capable, but because you know that it's not the direction you're supposed to go in, then say no. But Esther's own was not anything to do with whether it was a direction. It was God that was calling her into it, but she said no. Another way to do that is to surround yourself with forward thinkers who will question your limiting beliefs, who will question your automatic no's. If you surround yourself with people that are in the same boat as you, that are as scared as you, that are as anxious as you, that are worry about everything like you, that they too have been in the same thing and doing the same thing for 20 years, when you say no, they'll be like, "You're right. There's no way." In fact, they're just trying to trap you by giving that project. They'll come up with all sorts of conspiracy theories. Do you understand? So surround yourself with forward thinkers, mentors, coaches, people that will question this decision that you're taking. Have you thought about it? Are you sure it's not automatically because you don't think you can do it? And that was what Mordecai did for Esther. So Mordecai replied to Esther and he said, "If you keep quiet at a time like this, deliverance and relief for the Jews will arise from some other place, but you and your relatives will die." Who knows? So he wasn't like cursing her. This is the key point that Mordecai was literally making. It is this: who knows if perhaps you were made queen for such a time as this? Do you know what Mordecai was saying? Mordecai was saying, listen, you have the potential. The fact that you are queen is the potential, is proof that you are able to do it. Meaning God had already equipped you for this moment. You may look around at the circumstance and it wants to make you say no and disqualify yourself. But I'm telling you, Esther, that before this problem arose, God had already put the potential inside you for you to be able to do it. That's what Mordecai was saying. So question your no by sitting down and literally giving yourself time to think and objectively analyze. Don't automatically say no. Right? In fact, it was Richard Branson that said, if a new opportunity comes to you, say yes and then go and find out how to do it. I love it. I absolutely love it. And this is how I now live my life. As in, honestly, I intuitively, somehow, I just came to the point where I'm like, listen, especially if you're a business owner, you can't sit back. If you don't move, the company is not moving. Your business, you can still get away with this when you're in an employment 9 to 5, right? But as a business owner, if you don't move, where you stopped is where the business stopped. Do you understand? So I'm like, if they say come and do this, I'm like, Jesus, I don't I'm like, I don't want to do it. I don't feel like doing it. But I'll say yes. I always say yes. I say yes. Unless in my reflection, I've seen that this is not taking me in the direction I'm supposed to be going. That's the only time I ever say no. Otherwise, I say yes. I won't even, sometimes I don't even know how to do the thing. I'll say yes and then go and find out how to do it. So I absolutely love that. Question your no. Step two. Even if your current circumstance says it's a no, what you need to think of next is, what do I do to change this into a yes? The only exception, and I've already mentioned this, is you know within you that it is not something you're supposed to do. Like when they wanted to force Jesus to go and become a king, Jesus didn't hide himself because he's like, how will I be a king? I'm not qualified. I don't have the potential to be a king. We both know that no, that's not why. He just knew that no, that's not God's will for me. When Satan said, turn the stone into bread, he was like, me? How will I get that kind of power from? Only God can turn stone into bread. Or did he say that? No. He said, no, man shall not live by bread alone. Meaning, it's not you that's going to command me to turn stone into bread. I live by instructions from God. I only do what I see the Father do. You're not the one I'm not going to obey you. I obey you in this tiny thing. The next thing, you'll be telling me to obey you by, killing somebody. Do you understand? So, you know that, it's not something I'm supposed to do. Not because you deem yourself incapable of doing it. So, step 2 is, even when you assess it, right? Your current circumstance says no, you don't have the capacity at the moment to do it. What you need to say is, how do I change this into a yes? Like Richard Branson said, say yes, and then you assess, say, hey, okay, I actually don't. Someone says, come and code this thing at work, or come and write a program, or come and do something. I say yes. And I don't even know what's the meaning of that word that the guy used. I don't even know. Then you go and research. Learn how to do it so that you then can do it. So assess your situation, and if it says a no, don't say no. Say yes. Then think, what do I need to do in order to turn this into a yes? What do I need in order to turn this into a yes? Esther's no was valid. Let me repeat to you what she said. Anyone who appears before the king in the court without being invited is doomed to die unless the king holds out his golden scepter. And the king has not called for me in these 30 days. Meaning, in my own power, I can't. Do you understand? He hasn't called for me. I can't just go. If I go, this guy could literally have her killed. I don't want to have me. So I'm very careful with my words. So she was saying the king could have her beheaded or whatever, or cast out, or I don't know. Okay? So her current circumstances screamed no. But once Mordecai reminded her that she had what it took, you are queen. That's what he was saying. The potential, the resource, the position to be able to do it, God has already given you. She began to question that. I know that, wait, how can I just tell them to go and solve this problem? Me too, I'm a Jew now. So she got to the point where she couldn't just dismiss it and disqualify herself. She was absolutely certain that she had been called to do that task. So what was her next question? What do I currently lack that will help me bring victory? And what did she say? She sent a message to Mordecai, go and gather together all the Jews of Susa and fast for me. Do not eat or drink for 3 days, night or day. My maids and I will do the same. Then I will go in. And even though it is against the law, I will go in to see the king, etc. She identified that this one has passed. Like, oh, I'm fine. I'm beautiful, Esther. This one has passed. Let me wear nice lingerie and go and see through lingerie and then go and speak to the king. This one has passed that too. Do you understand? We need supernatural power. She identified that was what she required. That was what. Listen, if I have that, then I know that I will be successful, or at least I know that I can move forward and at least don't disqualify myself before the race even starts. She identified they needed God's help and his favor, and as a result, she said, let us fast. For you, is it to go and learn how to market and sell in business? Before you disqualify yourself and say, I can't do business. I don't know how to do business. Business just doesn't work for me. All right? Is it just that you don't know how to market? You're shy. You don't know how to, speak to people. Why don't you identify that and then go and learn it? Right? You say they haven't promoted me. It's because I'm black. They can't just, do you understand? You disqualify yourself and say, I don't have the potential, or based on something you can't change, like the color of your skin. Or is it for you to go and learn how to relate to people better at work? Is that actually what is holding you back? That might be what's holding you back. Meanwhile, you have basically disqualified yourself and said, no. Meanwhile, if you just learn how to relate to people at work, how to become visible, you would scale that barrier. Or is it, as I said in episode 67, your prayer life that is dry, that you need to connect with God again so that you can begin to take territories again? What do you need to help you win? What will change that no into a yes? Sit down, analyze. Do a thorough situational analysis. Sit down, count the cost. So Jesus talked, this is one of my favorite scriptures. Who wants to build a tower without first sitting down, counting the cost to see whether you have enough to complete the tower? Jesus was not saying that if you don't have enough, abandon the tower. He said, count the cost, so that if you find out that you have only half of what you need, go and get the other half so that you can finish. That's what he was saying. So do a situational analysis and say, okay, I want to say yes, but this is what I lack. Go and get what you lack and then get in there. Then go and get it. Go and take that course. Go to those departmental meetups. Stop saying, oh, I don't want to hang out with you. Go. They won't kill you and eat you. Okay? Change your perception. People might think you're a loner and you're not a team player simply because you never ever go out to the hangouts. Change that. Find out what you need and to turn your no into a yes, and then go for it. And the final step 3, is once you have resourced yourself, once you have gone to take the course on sales and marketing, once you have, you've understood that, okay, the reason why I haven't been promoted is because people don't really see me as, they don't know me. I'm not visible. And you have resourced yourself. You've gone out to get that thing. The same way Esther called everybody together and they fasted and they got the grace of God to rest upon them. The next thing and the final step is you must then step out. Don't resource yourself and still stay there and say, No. If you want to overcome this habit of disqualifying yourself, you have to step out. In Esther 5, it says, on the third day of the fast, Esther put on her royal robes, entered the inner court of the palace. The king was sitting on his royal throne facing the entrance. When he saw Queen Esther standing there in the inner court, he welcomed her and held out the gold scepter and said, "What do you want, Queen Esther? What is your request?" I will give it to you, even to the half of the kingdom. After Esther resourced herself, after the power of God came upon her, after she received some ideas in the place of prayer, what did she do? Did she still go back to Mordecai and say, I'm really afraid, I can't go, I just don't know what the key. No, she stepped out. So after you've learned that, the people that are getting promoted is, this is the skill that they've acquired. This is the kind of course they're doing. Go and do the course. Then once you have resourced yourself, don't talk yourself out of it. Immediately step out. Get in the race. Get in the race before you talk yourself out of it. Esther, after they had prayed, that fasted, they received an endowment from God. She stepped out. She put on her robes and went and met the king. Okay? So those are the 3 steps that you can take practically, literally from now, when you're listening to this podcast, to begin to get forward in life. Remember, this series is titled You versus You, overcoming the habits, the self-imposed habits that are holding you back from your greatest successes. And the one we have talked about today is disqualifying, the habit of disqualifying yourself even before the race starts. Your boss tells you to go and do something, and you haven't even thought of, okay, let me go and figure out if it's possible. Your automatic response is no. I hired someone to work for me. I think it was the first hire I ever got. All right, in my business. And this person, I would say, let's do this. And they were like, this is, they always came up with, they always came up with excuses. Maybe not even excuses, with barriers, mountains. And imagine somebody that's trying to build a business. You cannot be a limited thinking kind of person and be in business. You have to constantly break barriers. You have to break things. Mark Zuckerberg is the one that said, break things and break them fast, or something like that. Break things, break them fast. As in, don't stay stagnant. Don't do the same thing for too long. Break it, scatter it. And then when you put it back together, you see it in a different light. Say, hey, let's move forward. And every time, okay, let's do this. It can't really work. This is that. All sorts of things. It didn't take me long before I realized that we cannot work together, or we can't work together. So, as the Hausa people will say in Nigeria, say gobe, which I hope I'm saying right, which is bye-bye. See you later. Do you understand? I need someone that's a possibilities thinker, so that even when myself, I'm like, do I want to take this risk? The person will say, no, let's do it. Those are the kind of people that I have working for me. These are people that I hire. Once I notice that somebody is always coming up with barriers, Johnson, is I see that falls on ground and bounces back. They haven't even collected the idea to hold it up to the light to say, okay, maybe if we try it this way it might work, or maybe they're automatically saying, well, this is going to be we will part ways. In fact, not just as employer, I don't have friends like that, because if I start hanging with someone, I made a friend a few years ago, and I absolutely, I loved her. I still love her. We just hit it off. We could talk, I loved her. But then I started to realize that this person was so negative. Their outlook to life, extremely negative. If you bring something and say, oh, look at the blue sky, I say, blue sky. Okay, I can see some clouds. It's about to rain. As in that kind of person. After a while, I say, no. You will affect me. I started to pull back. I had to pull back because I don't want to live my life like that. All right, that's me done. I'll be back next week and see you then. Bye.